Thanks for joining us for this episode. And I do want to remind you to make sure that you are following us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you may listen to podcasts. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@churchadvance. And you can actually watch video versions of each episode. We'd also really appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star review and share this content with other pastors and church leaders. We want to help as many of these folks as we can, and so we'd really appreciate you sharing this episode with your friends. Well, thanks again for joining us as we begin today's episode and continue to advance a reformation of fellowship, partnership, and gospel hope amongst Bible-believing pastors and churches. This is Church Advance with Brian Sams.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to Church Advance with Brian Sams. And we are in the middle of a discussion on ways people have been reached at River City Baptist Church. Now, I want to let you know, just as a reminder, when we're talking about reaching people, we're not talking about adding members from other churches, although some of that has happened. We're not talking about necessarily people relocating to your city who join your church, which that has also happened. No doubt about it, and I'm thankful for each of those. I'm talking about people who either were unchurched or dechurched. Unchurched means unsaved. Dechurched means they used to go to church, they grew up in church, but maybe during their adult years, like my secretary, I'm thinking of Sarah right now, her and her husband were out of church for 20 years. Mm-hmm. And God got a hold of their heart, put their marriage back together in a wonderful way. And now she's on church staff and is doing a fantastic job. God has just richly blessed our church with both. And so, Luke, what we're talking about here is we're talking about how did this happen? And what did we do? And I think we started last time by just talking about, I think, fundamentally two things that should go without saying. A perfect combination, one, of the Spirit and the Word of God, and two, of an atmosphere created within the body. And I love what that emphasis we had at the end there, where we see some of the mega church sacrifices biblical integrity and the power of the Holy Spirit to create an atmosphere. Fundamentalists would sacrifice atmosphere for message.
Yeah.
We are saying is you do not have to sacrifice either, nor should you, in order to reach people.
Yeah, absolutely. We kind of concluded with the second point, which is creating that atmosphere that compels people to come. That is very often what you win people with, but having that Holy Spirit presence and emphasis on the Word of God is what you keep people with. Yeah. And so, very good foundational conversation to lead us to these next few points. Which is really going to turn into kind of a series here talking about, how you've reached people there. So I think we're ready to move into number 3 and get started with all fresh content for this episode here. And that is through the individual efforts of your members.
Yeah, this is an essential talking point. I believe that it was Larry Osborne and Sticky Church that described two types of churches. There's attractional and missional. And attractional is we put on big events for people to come. And so the front door is something big, something publicized. A lot of times in mega churches, you'll see like unorthodox church sermon series. Like what's the big one right now? Like At the Movies. They're trying to reach out and make the church attractive to people. Mm-hmm. So that they call that model attractional. Yep. Missional is a disciple-making house that encourages the people in that house to go out and make disciples. So people then become those who are reaching their own neighbors, their own family members, their own friends, their own colleagues, their own, teammates, whatever. So it's basically your church becomes a church of missionaries.
Hmm.
I've said to our church that a church that you are either a missionary or you are a mission field.
Hmm.
So, what is the bread and butter at River City? Real simple. People reaching people who have been reached by our church.
Hmm.
So, when we reach somebody, just instantaneously, there is a training and a desire that God put within them, and a training by us to go reach their friends and loved ones with the gospel.
Hmm.
And that's been by a mile our greatest reach. I'm just looking at, I'm thinking of Randy and Susie Yearden that I met, believe it or not, door knocking for our grand opening of our new property in 2018. Randy and
Hmm.
Susie started coming. They were already Christians. Um, this is really crazy. Then Harry and Helen Winters invited their neighbor to come to church on a big day. I can't remember what day it was. She walks in the door. She introduces herself to me. Her name is Rhonda Burke. While I'm talking to Rhonda, she looks across the auditorium and sees her brother, Randy. She didn't even get invited by her brother, got invited by her neighbor, and ran over and embraced her brother. And come to find out, Randy was a member of our church. Well, that week we set up an appointment, and I went to a little barbecue joint right down the road here. I think you went to that place with me while you were here. And I led Rhonda to Christ right there in the restaurant.
Hmm.
And Rhonda is a faithful member of our church. And think about that. She had a double impact zone. She had a neighbor that invited her and reached out to her, and she also had a brother that nurtured it. And she got saved. And I'm not talking about a young one, I'm talking about a woman in her 60s, got saved here and baptized here. So that kind of thing, man, has happened innumerable times. I'm thinking right now on the front row on my right, Lori Everett has invited Melissa Smart, uh, Quick. Her last name's Quick, Melissa Quick. Been inviting her for 2 years, according to their testimony. She finally came. I'm getting ready to actually. I just baptized Melissa a couple weeks ago, and now Melissa and Jared are getting ready to get married because when we met them, they were together, unwed. You
Hmm.
see how God works, man? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just that's actually the story. Now, sometimes the initial thing is we did reach someone through some kind of um, event or just through witnessing in some way. But I mean, once they come, it ends up being family. But then sometimes, and a lot of times, it's just family, friends, or whatever have reached them. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to push ownership to the people. Every member is a minister.
Yeah.
Okay, we are here to be disciples and make disciples. That's our mission. That's what we do. So we're trying to get outside the walls. We're trying to encourage our people through preaching and teaching and discipling to go out and make disciples themselves. And that is huge. It's another amazing thing about that, Luke. When you reach people that way, discipleship becomes super organic.
Hmm.
It's already there. Like,
Yeah.
for instance, I mentioned Melissa and Jared and Lori. Well, guess who's taking Melissa and Jared through our quick start discipleship? Lori,
Hmm.
not me, her. So we're training our members to be disciple makers, and they turn around and do it. It's just a beautiful thing. I think that's the way it's supposed to be. Read John 1. Read John 1. When the first disciples were called, they found their family and friends and brought them to Jesus.
Yeah.
Found people find people,
Yeah.
and that's how that works.
Yeah, and I'll say this too. You're talking about this attractional model versus this missional model. In my experience, from what I've seen, very often the missional model is also very attractive. And when you see a church where you see members that are actively engaged and involved in reaching other people, inviting other people, there is something about that is very attractive in and of itself.
Yep.
So let's move on to number 4 then, because it's kind of in line with that, and that is through the intentional work of follow up and assimilation.
Yeah, I think we might do this one pretty quick, Luke, because what we want to do is we probably want to do a whole episode on this, but let me
Yeah.
give you the short story of it. You have to have a plan of assimilation and follow up. And tools change, methods change. I'm not here to push tools and methods. We use Planning Center at our church. Every church, I'm sure by this time, anybody listening to this podcast who's a pastor, surely you've got some sort of assimilation, or that's not the right word, like people management software.
Church management software.
Yeah. Church management software. There's all kinds of them out there, Luke, and we don't even have to get into specifics. We use Planning Center. It's the only one I know, so that's all I can speak to. But in Planning Center, you can actualize and even automate these assimilation steps. So, and it all starts with connection card. Okay, the only either connection card number one or child check-in. So real assimilation comes when you are able to grab a hold of data. You got to be able to get data, meaning a connection card. So when somebody checks their kids into the children's ministry or nursery for the first time, we have trained our check-in people and our nursery workers to get the parents' names, because we already are going to have the kids' names and the phone number. See that? So we then just add in the parents or the mom or whoever was with them. And when that new name gets put into our system that way, they automatically get put into workflow. And I'll talk about that in just one second. Then, of course, the second means of getting data is the connection card. There's both. We have a digital connection card on our website, and we have a physical connection card that is in the pews that is at our Next Steps booth. And the way that we get connection cards is twofold. Okay. One, we announce from the pulpit. I always do that before the message. Hey, welcome, guys. Glad you're here. I have a copy of it on the pulpit for me. And I just hold it up and say, guys, you got one of these in your seat back pocket? Man, I sure hope you'll take one, fill it out, share a prayer request, let us know you were here. If you've got questions about salvation, membership, or baptism, please mark that down. I'll be glad to get with you this week. Then number two, we have a whole first impressions team. I think we have about 15 people on that team here that are at the kids check-in area. They are at the lobby. They are in the back of the auditorium, and they are where else? At the coffee shop. They are there to be the front line to identify and connect with guests. And what they do is like you say, it's you come to my church, Luke, and I'm on that first impressions team. I'll greet you. Hey, I'm Brian. What's your name? I am Luke. Cool. Hey, are you here for the first time? Yes. Hey, I got a gift for you. Can I give you that gift? Sure. In that gift bag is a gift or two, but there's also a connection card there. They just encourage them right there on the spot to fill it in and then turn it in. And so that's probably a whole nother episode in of itself. But the point is, you have to get data. You have to know somebody was there. Then once you do that, you have to continue in what we would call the work of assimilation. I used to have all kinds of different workflows. What do we do when somebody's this, and this? We now combined it into one giant workflow in Planning Center, and it's called from first-time guest to engaged member. And there's a workflow there. I believe there's 18 steps from the first time somebody visits all the way to salvation, baptism, discipleship course, new member orientation, salvation or membership interview, joining the church, joining a connection group, being involved in a ministry team. And I just simplified it. And you say, well, what do you do with somebody that comes to your church that's already saved? Well, the beautiful thing about workflows in Planning Center is you can skip a step.
Yeah.
Like if you've already, they're saved, when you get to that, they've given you the testimony, right? Just skip it. If they've already been baptized, just skip it and just takes them to the next one. And man, this digital workflow, so basically we have probably 5 or 6 people working the workflow. And what happens? Beautiful, man. Like if it's me and I need to send an email or I need to, visit somebody, I'm just going to get an email that says, hey, Brian, you've got a new card. Go check it out. I open up the card. I do the action, whatever it is. and then I make some notes in it, and I just complete the step. And when I hit complete step, it just automatically pushes it to the next person.
Yeah.
And then thing. And man, I tell you, it's working. I'm pulling it up here on my phone just to kind of give you an example of where we are right at this moment. Okay, right at this moment, in the first time visitor to engaged member, there are 64 people in this workflow.
Hmm.
And I'm looking here, there are 233 that have been completed. Now that's from start to finish.
Yeah.
So we currently, right now, are working on 64 people. Most of those are people that have visited since the 1st of January. And we are, I mean, there's all kinds of, they're all different steps. There's 14 steps. And I'll show you where most of the people are on the steps is they're at the stage inquire by membership, inquire about membership. And that just means we're asking them, at this point, what's your interest level? How can we help you? What next steps can we get to you? Whatever. So you just see there, and you can always see where somebody is. And if a lead grows cold, so to speak, you just remove them from the workflow altogether.
Yeah.
And so that's how we have done it. Man, I got to tell you, when we started formalizing this and really working it, and credit to my assistant pastor, Levi Rolston, who's doing a bang up job with this. It was a game changer, man. I mean, the time started turning. We started getting more connection cards. We started doing a better job with them. And quite honestly, the church has been dynamically growing in 2024. And we baptized more people already, Luke. We're recording this on May 15th of 2024. We baptized more people already in 24 than we did the entire year of 23.
Yeah. Wow.
So praise the Lord. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And, like you said, that is something we need to do some type of dedicated episode or session to at some point. But, just a practical first step, just to circle back to what you started out there with on this point, get signed up for some type of church management software. I do know Planning Center tends to be pretty affordable. I think they kind of grow with you on their tiers, if I remember right. There's others out there. There's, Tidely has a version of it, Subsplash. Church Community Builder. These are a few that I've worked with. But no matter what you choose to use, and I will say this too, on the flip side of that, having a church management software does not solve your assimilation issues, and it doesn't do the work for you.
Absolutely.
So I would even say, even if you say, well, we're not sure what software we want to use, get a notepad and pencil out and just write down your process and start to work it on an analog format, if nothing else.
And we get to church Advance HQ in the fall. This is the kind of thing that we can sit down with you guys and be like, look, this is what we do. This is how we do it. Let me just push Planning Center for a minute here. Look, the beautiful thing about Planning Center, you're right, it does grow with you. So if you have a church of 25, you're not paying nearly as much. You got a church of 500. So not to mention, you don't have to buy everything with it. You can buy whatever you want. Now, we use it for literally everything. We use it for giving. We use it for registration for events. We use it for our connection group ministries. We use it for our ministry teams. We use it for child check-in. We use it for assimilation. I mean, dude, we use it for everything. So we're like all in. But you may or may not, but do something. And you're right.
Yeah.
You got to have a plan, and Plan Center does not do the plan for you. I think, Luke, that was a good point you made.
Yeah.
We had to create these steps.
Mm-hmm.
We still have to execute the steps. We still have to train the people that are involved in those steps. It just makes it easier. It makes it clear. It's that dashboard kind of form. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, dude, we still have hundreds of other work boards. I mean, we've got work boards for events. We've got work boards for all kinds of other stuff. I mean, I was working in Todoist today, working on a script for an anniversary video. I mean, I'm like got all kinds of stuff going on. I'm just talking about how do you follow up with and assimilate people from the first time they walk in the door till they are now fully engaged members. And here's how I define a fully engaged member. They are giving, they are serving, and they are connecting. They give money, they serve in ministry, and they're a part of a connection group. So that's how you know somebody's all in.
Yep. And the beautiful thing about something like Planning Center is it does track all of those metrics. And so, and I'll make a plug too. I think in my experience, I've worked with a lot of these. Planning Center does seem to be a great starting point. We don't Unfortunately, we don't get any type of kickback. We don't have a promo code for you to insert in the planning center
You
so that we
should
get a
tag
cut of
them
it.
in this episode and see if they'll.
Yeah, see
You
if
know,
they'll hook us up. We'll take it. We'll take the
I'm a
affiliate money.
fan. I'm a fan. I mean, it's just about like Chipotle for me. I mean, I'm a satisfied customer.
Yeah.
I think I've eaten at Chipotle 3 times this week already, and it's Wednesday. And you know
Amen.
what? That's okay. I'm faithful, man. I'm going to keep
Yeah.
going, and I'm
Yeah.
faithful with. I mean, I'm all in on Planning Center. I have no. In fact, I mean, I don't know how I'd function without it because this morning, I mean, just as one other example, I need to make a visit to a man in our church. I already mentioned him, I think, last episode, Jim. Jim just got diagnosed with cancer. It's come back. He's 75 years old. Dear man in our church, love him. And I pulled up Planning Center, clicked his name, clicked his address, opened it up in Maps, went straight to his house.
Yeah.
You know, those are the power of a tool. And think about that for follow up, Luke. I get a note that says this guy's interested in salvation. I hit his card. I've got his phone number. I've got his email address. I've got his address, and I can call him and say, "Hey, man, can we meet up? I see you live over there by the Starbucks on Atlantic Boulevard. Let's meet up there if you want to meet or whatever." It's
Yeah.
just there's power, man. A tool doesn't do all the work for you, but it enhances and empowers the work. They could build houses before pneumatic nail guns, but they couldn't build them faster without pneumatic, nail guns. So
Yeah.
this is not an issue of can you do work without the tools. We would be doing this work with or without the tools. It's just it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
But hey, I mean, let me just real quick. We will do a whole episode on this, but let me take like 1 minute here, Luke, and let
Yeah.
me just read through this workflow just so you got an idea of what we are doing. Okay, step 1, personalized thank you text message. They're going to get a text message from somebody at our church that says, "Hey, my name is Susan. I'm a member of River City Baptist Church. I'm so glad you came to our church." Number 2 is a welcome email from me. Number 3 is a next steps message where we send them a direct link to the next steps page, which you helped me design, or actually you designed, Luke. Just a landing page on our website that has all the next step options.
Mm-hmm.
Step 4, inquire about membership. Are you interested in joining our church? Step 5, enroll them in Quick Start. That is our discipleship program, 4 weeks. On Wednesday nights, it rotates. Again, I feel like I'm giving out too much information here, but that's okay. Step 6, they have begun Quick Start. That means they're currently in the class. Step 7, they completed Quick Start and they need a certificate. Step 8, they need to be invited to new member orientation. Step 9, we've had a interview of salvation and baptism. And let me just say this. Obviously, we concern ourselves with their salvation before then. The point is, we just need them to testify to it. Like they probably told us at that point, "Yeah, I'm saved, I'm baptized." Because if not, we will go there. But at this point, we need them to articulate, "Yes, I've been saved. Here's my testimony, and yes, I got baptized." Step 10, confirm new member orientation attendance. Step 11, attend new member orientation. Step 12, join the church. Step 13, enroll in a connection group. Step 14, enroll in ministry teams. There you go. And nobody moves past step 1 or to step 2 until they've completed step 1.
Yeah.
So it's a surefire way for us to understand where we are in this process. And man, again, it's working super, super well for us.
Yeah. And, Brian, you kind of teased this out a little bit. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff that we will be working with you on when you join Church Advance HQ. At time of release of this episode, we're probably within just a month or two of opening up some type of, at least preliminary registration. But right now, I do want to put a plug that you can get on the waiting list by going over to briansams.com/notes, where you can access the show notes and the resources. And one of those links is going to be where you can sign up for Church Advance HQ.
Just one more thing on that. I mean, I do some coaching already. And it's amazing how many times in my coaching sessions, they go on to talk about Planning Center. I've got several people to sign up for Planning Center. Good night. Planning Center does need to do.
They
do need to do something for us.
They need to give us something.
Come
on, Planning Center, hook us up.
I'm going to tag them up because I look. I'm a believer. I mean, I'm going to plug it without any perks. But I mean, Planning Center, we've helped a lot of people buy your product because we're in favor of it. But yeah, man, it's so important. And if not, do something. But by all means, get a assimilation plan in order and follow it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, and like you said, Brian, more to come on that in future episodes. Also, again, with Church Advance HQ, we'll be working with pastors and churches and a lot in that arena. But it can't be, you can't be something that's overstated. It's crucial, is this assimilation process.
Right. We're going to finish this whole talk next time. We got 4 more to go, and I believe we'll be able to work through them a little more quickly. These first 4, though, man, they were super important. Super. I mean, I'm not talking about side things, Luke. I'm talking about pillars.
Yeah.
Pillars of outreach at our church. Next time there'll be some practical things, but man, I hope this has been really helpful. So, guys, love to hear your feedback on the website. Share it, man. Give us a review.
Yeah.
Let us know how we're doing, and hopefully this helps. God bless you guys. We will see you next time on the Church Advance podcast.
Thanks again for joining us for this episode, and we really would appreciate it if you could leave us that 5-star review, and then of course share this content with your friends. We want to help as many pastors and church leaders as we can, and be sure to, of course, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you may listen to podcasts. And go ahead and subscribe to the Church Advance YouTube channel at youtube.com/@churchadvance. This podcast is hosted by Brian Sams. It is co-hosted and produced by myself, Luke Clayton, and the team at mustincrease.com. If you want to connect with Brian, be sure to head over to his website at briansams.com. Well, we really look forward to seeing you again in the next episode as we continue to advance a reformation of fellowship, partnership, and gospel hope amongst Bible-believing pastors and churches right here on Church Advance with Brian Sams.